Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I am your host, Denisa Tova, and today I am absolutely thrilled to have here a super duper family lawyer, Jill Stone with Stone, Studin, Young, and Nigro. And Jill has over 3 decades of experience. She doesn't look it. And she has an incredible story for you that involves juggling the legal career, raising 3 kids, passion for fashion, and even a stint as a legal expert on national TV. I mean, she is totally slaying it in the family legal field and in life. So, Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Denisa. It's great to be here. Thank you. I think what you're doing is marvelous, bringing our own stories to the world so they know that when we are helping them in the legal community, we bring our own experiences and we can help them with the experiences that we had. So I think it's great, really wonderful.
Thank you for saying that, Jill. And that really is the essence of this, is to humanize it and make what you do, make the general public appreciate what you do and the many layers that you have to go through. And there's just so much to know, and then also in order to manage expectations, emotions. I mean, there's just so much. And
A lot
you
goes
actually
into
initially, I'm sorry.
a lot goes into what we do for a living. We're human beings. We
Yes.
have to do juggle everything. So it's just not we walk into the courtroom and we're a lawyer and that's what we're doing. We have a whole baggage to bring with us, like everybody else's baggage we have. So it's nice to share it.
I love that. Now that really is the essence of humanizing something, not being afraid to be vulnerable. I love what you just said, because I've had many practitioners on the show, and sometimes when we wrap up, they're like, "Ooh, was I too personal? Was it too much sharing?" And I said, "No, no, you need to show that you are a human being, because you have to then get back home and take care of yourself so that you don't lose your sense of self, your family, and be a functioning human being." So that is an excellent point.
Well, Denisa, I have to tell you, I say that one of my mantras is the way that I live my life is the way that I practice law. So I'm very
Mm.
open. I like to discuss with my clients and tell them that, I've had experiences. I have 3 kids. I went through a lot. I have parents too. I have brothers. I have a lot to bring to them when they come into the office because I want to be open. I want to be honest. I don't want to, I'm not here really only to make a living, which we have to, but if when you're in this field, you really want to help people, you want to make a difference. That's so we make a difference by bringing in our own experiences. That's how I feel.
And you had quite a journey. As a matter of fact, you initially wanted to be in the fashion industry. What led you to make that switch and become a family lawyer?
Well, I did want to go into fashion. That's what I wanted to do. But my father, who was a very well known criminal defense attorney in Queens County, decided when I graduated college that I was going to law school. He said, and I said, "Me, party girl, I'm going to law school." But he said, "Listen, I want you to get your license. I know you could do great things with it, but if you never want to practice a day in your life, at least you'll have something and he won't have to worry that I could stand on the steps of a courthouse and make a living." So back then, you listened, at least I did, to whatever my parents told me to do. And I became one of the students in the inaugural class of the City University of New York Law School at Queens College. And it wasn't even accredited yet, but I started law school in a elementary school where the bathrooms were this big and we couldn't even fit in them. And it was quite the experience being in an inaugural class and starting a whole new. It was the mission. It was the service in human needs. That was the mission of CUNY Law School, and it was something that I cared about. Helping people. And I thought maybe after I did that, I would go into fashion. But I just do my fashion when I go into the courtroom and I meet my clients. That's how it worked out now.
You
So.
do, and you own your style. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get back to that. So you're almost like a pioneer, and there was something that your dad actually said. He said to you that you had to be strong but not emotional. Can you share a bit about that advice and how that guided you in your practice?
He did say when I became a lawyer and I worked with him and we drove in every day to all the different courthouses that you have to be strong, but you're a woman, and you're talking now, in the 80s and the 90s, that be smart, know your case, but don't be emotional, because the second you act in a certain way, he felt that people and the bench would think that it's a women thing, and he didn't want that to happen. So he said you have to be strong and be poised and present your case, so that this way they know that it's not coming from an emotional end because you're a woman. It's coming from really the passion you have in dealing and helping with your client. So I hear that all the time when I'm doing certain things, when I'm in court and I think I'm good, maybe going over the top. I think about what my father says, so I calm down a little bit.
Come on, I've seen men do that. I mean, they
That's
have a
true.
different way of channeling it.
Well, they're known as being
um,
very aggressive. And, sometimes the men, when they do it, they're so aggressive, and we become the emotional. But it's changing now. I have to tell you that when you act a certain way as a lawyer and you're just being passionate, they think you're aggressive. So it's turning the tide a little bit. I saw over the years. So,
Look, to me, it's about energy, suppressing certain energy and expressing it. Everybody has a different way of doing it. But like you said, normalizing it. Like, okay, I'm about to lose it. All right, that's being human. I'm just having all sorts of stuff happening here. So, we're only human beings.
right.
Speaking
That's
of
true.
all these different roles that you had to play, we talked about the career, but then also, being a mom who was very, very present. You're sort of like this lioness, holding it together here for your family. You shared with me about your son Josh, who went through a tough time, but he turned setback into success. And listen, I think many parents can relate. We want to solve our kids' problems. We want to shoulder that pain. And I've learned personally that, especially with older kids, they need to have that internal drive to pull themselves out of that darkness. So we can steer them towards certain resources and shower them with lots of love, but they have to find that force to push through. What was that like for you as a parent to navigate that?
Well, Josh, I have three young adults, I should say, they're 30s and 20s. And Josh went through a hard time. He was on his track. He was a Division I hockey player, and he had 4 surgeries, and the last surgery knocked him out of the box. So he learned a very quick lesson at a young age that one minute you're on top of the world and everybody loves you, and the next minute no one knows your name when you can't perform the way that they want to, and you can't do anything for them. Um, and he was in a dark place, but he got himself out. And my husband and I were going to be supportive no matter what it was. And he started to write about how horrible his life is. And he got into the music world and producing. And it's a little racy, but you know what? I represent kids, and I support what my clients want. And I was certainly going to support what my child was going to do. And he channeled it into a good place. And no matter what it was, we were going to be supportive. And it took a toll, but he's great. And I try to tell that to the parents of the clients that I represent, that they're fighting with each other. And I said, but try to look at your child, what your child is seeing when they're going through this, and you have to lift them up and be supportive of whatever they want to do. So it was challenging, but you get through it. You just get through it. You have the love and the expertise. I'm lucky. I feel like I had the expertise and a lot of different people I could reach out to if I needed some advice. And we all should reach out for some people for help when we need it.
And there's no shame in that. As a matter of fact, there's a strength in reaching out
There
and
is,
asking for help. Um,
there is.
and that is a great success story, because it's finding an outlet, and getting through that and just keep moving. And again, I know that personally because my son, unfortunately, who would have been 30 2 years ago, he didn't find that strength after many, many years. So I am a huge fan. So that's really awesome. Um, going back on a little lighter note here, talking about your style, you're a member of the committee on character and fitness for newly minted
Yes.
attorneys. Let me ask you this. as a successful professional woman who obviously has defined and confidently owns her own style and a sense of self, you almost like redefining the image of modern day lawyer. What advice would you give or do you give to incoming lawyers?
Well, it's very interesting. I am on that committee, and we interview bar applicants for admission to the bar. New York is was one of the last states. It changed a little now because of COVID, but it was so interesting when they get something in the mail that they have to appear before a member, and they would come to my office. I don't think they expected to see somebody who wasn't in a polyester suit and low shoes, maybe because I would come out and I could see it in
Ew.
their face, both young women and men. And
Mhm.
I spoke to them about being a member of the bar and camaraderie amongst how we have to treat each other, and that you can't. A lot of them wanted to know if I had a family and how you did it, and how did you juggle everything. And I have an all woman law firm, not
Mm.
intentionally. It just happened that way. I mentor a lot of young women, and it can be done. I was part of the PTA and the whole thing, and I explained that to them. And even the young men want to know. I said my husband was very, very involved with all three of my children with sports, and it can be done. And you just have to own it. You have to figure out time management. You have to get your work done. You have to show your boss that I may not be in the office for 3 hours, but those 3 hours I'm going to complete my work because I have to be with my family, and you can juggle it. And they were very interested. Everyone that I interviewed, they were very interested about it. So I'm glad that I could be that type of image for the people that want it.
And you walk the talk because you recently celebrated, was it 42-year wedding anniversary,
I did
right?
yesterday. 42 years.
S- What
So,
what's your secret sauce to a workable marriage?
excuse me. Respect, big. Respect is very big. Being open to challenges and open to different ways that people think. My husband may think one way, and also being on the same page when it comes to your kids. That's very important. And there's many times where, when they were younger, they would say, Daddy didn't let me do this or said this or something. And I said, if that's what Dad said. And then, of course, I would go behind the door and say, what are you thinking? What's wrong with you? Why would you say that? But a
Right.
united front. And I think communication and respect is the most important thing. And in really anything you do, because when you're in a law office, you're in a marriage kind of.
Mhm.
When you have a relationship with somebody, whether it's always a marriage, it's always a connection. And if you communicate the right way, you really could get through anything and respect somebody else's opinion. And that's what it really is. Not easy, but
You
all the
said
time. But
no.
it works.
Yeah, because if you have respect as a starting position, you can agree to disagree respectfully. Nobody says you have to be exactly one, but that's why I said workable marriage, right? Because over so many years, you may not see eye to eye, but it's just being able to come back together. I think you're absolutely right. The communication is a key. So, you're doing so much. So what do you do? To recharge? Where do you find your Zen? You're personally.
Well, I make sure at least twice a week or three if I'm good to go to my hot Pilates class. I have to listen to my instructor, so I feel that that's the only time I'm not thinking about work. So it recharges me. I like to walk after dinner all the time, something my husband and I do because it just, gets you going before you're going to be charged for the next day. Um, and I don't know, I like to go into the city and see plays. I mean, I like to have fun. I like to take it, easy whenever we can. I have a beautiful house. So, in the summertime, it's wonderful to recharge looking at the water. It's important. I still don't have the balance, honestly. And I'm still thriving to get the balance. But more and more, and I think COVID opened my eyes to a lot of things, that anything can happen at any time, so you really have to enjoy yourself. So I'm trying to do that the best I can.
Yeah, what is balance? It almost that doesn't mean necessarily equal, right? I'll find an equal personal time, to sort of balance out the same amount of professional time. I think you're onto something, talking about inserting those moments that take you away from work
That's
because
it.
you're so passionately ingrained in it. So even if it's just few moments, making sure you do find those moments, and that could be your own balance. Who's to say what that is other than you?
I can't. To me, I work is kind of like I love what I do, so um, I don't want to ever give it up. But I think I could just focus on myself a little bit more. It's for the brain. Sometimes it's so much going on that you say, your brain is tired. My brain is tired, so you try to relax the brain a little bit. That's having a glass of wine isn't too bad either once in a while, but I like to focus on just trying to relax my brain a little bit because I feel sometimes it is overworked. So
Mm,
it's hard to find, but
talking.
well, I have to tell you that a lot of the women in my office um, have young children. So I try to tell them what I didn't do when I was
Mm,
younger because I want to explain to them that, I mean, I was always around, I was always visible, but like Jenna, one of my associates, said, "Oh my God, I have to be here, but my son is having his first, kindergarten experience." I said, "I'll take care of this, or we'll take care of this. You go get the first experience. You're never going to have that again." So I try to tell them that they should try to find the balance all the time because I wasn't able to do it. And so I want to guide them a little bit and learn from my experiences. So I hope that works for them.
that's why you have such a great team. So, I could have you here for a long time. We could just talk about life and so many things, and we'll definitely have you back. But before I let you go, I do have a little bit of a challenge for you here. Next podcast episode challenge. Since you are like this, I'd say a musical Kardashian family, and Josh is slaying it now in LA. How about next time when you're on, you and Josh, you got to hit us with a family rap collab.
Okay.
And you got to think about a title of that track, what that would be.
Okay. That's
I would
simple.
love
We
to I
You
would
don't
love to
even
hear
know.
that.
We have in my house when everybody's together. So Josh is in the music business. My daughter has her master's in social work, so she has a great time evaluating and helping all of us. And Troy, my youngest, is a lawyer, and he does work with Josh. So we have dance parties, and you have no idea the music that we put on, and it goes from all extremes, from Sinatra to 50 Cent and all of Josh's work. We have a good time, so we'll come up with something for you. You'll have fun.
Oh yeah.
Be
Oh yeah,
good.
absolutely. You got to be. That's it. That's it. You're on. And
Okay.
that's it. It's it. You're,
Okay. I'll
there's
take the
no
challenge.
backing out. Good. Okay. Josh is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. Jill, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. Really,
Thank you.
really,
Thank you,
really a
Lisa.
pleasure.
I think you're doing great stuff. So thank you. And I love watching all the people you had. I watched them and I think it's just wonderful. The medical issues they spoke about. They spoke about
Mm.
things, how they got to be judges. I mean, it's really wonderful and sharing it with the world is great. So thank you from this end to you.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. And, thank you for sharing your fun journey. That's not only compelling, it's truly inspiring. You bring a fresh new perspective on being a lawyer. And to our viewers and listeners, thank you. You can find more about Jill Stone by clicking on our bio link below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar Podcast, and follow us on all social media channels. Until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.